Hey there, everyone. This is Dr. T coming to you with another master class. I am the founder of Life Coach in a Box, and I am excited to have Miss Des Caminos with us here today. She just got back to the States from the Prague, Czech Republic. She's been there for 7 years. I can't wait to hear about that. She has a company called the Interconnected Self, and she is doing a lot of fantastic work. And I'm just really, really excited to be talking about what she's doing, how she's impacting people, what she's doing in her life coaching. And I am sure that there's going to be some good information that she's going to be able to drop down to you from what she's doing. So let's just chat with Des. How are you doing today, Des?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling excited. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Good. I just love, we didn't plan the blue and red turtleneck thing, but it's kind of working. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
I was
working.
just thinking that. I was like, as you were introducing, I was like, you know what? I guess we both got the turtleneck memo, and like that's
We
exciting.
listen, it's all good and it works. It works. So tell me, why were you in the Prague, Czech Republic? What were you doing there for 7 years of your life?
So it's funny. I started there and I was just kind of helping a friend move. And when I got there, I realized I just fell in love with the city. There was so much opportunity for expression, for self exploration. There wasn't judgment when it's like, hey, I want to try this thing I've never done before. They're like, oh, go for it, even if you're an adult. And so there was a lot of openness that was there. And so
Mm.
I started and I was an English teacher and that was fun for a little bit. Then I started a company. And then I realized in that process, because I have a degree in psychology and I was doing a lot of kind of mental health things when I was in the US. And I thought, you know what? I've tried some of these other programs. I like them, but I'd like to kind of come back to my core values that are, helping people and that. So then I started a theater. And during that process of owning a theater, I began doing workshops again and collaborating with people just around Europe.
I love that. Now, Des, you said you helped somebody move there.
Yeah, it's really funny. My really good friend, whose name is Mez, um, she was like, hey, I want to take a break from the United States. I never went abroad. I'd like to, maybe spend 6 months and redefine who I am and go on this life-changing journey. Will you help me move? And so I said, yeah, I'll help you move. And so when I get there, her boyfriend comes and proposes. She's like, change of plans. I want to go back to the US. I want to get married. I don't want to be here anymore. And I thought, ooh, I don't know. I really like it. So I took over, I guess, her flat and I ended up staying. And so, I remember calling my parents and being like, hey, I know that I came to help Mez move, but change of plans. She's coming back and I'm staying.
You know what? That's outrageous. That is so awesome. That, first of all, the reason why I was asking you is because most people won't help a person move that far away. Like, yes, I'm moving from this house to that house, and it's, we got a U-Haul.
Mhm.
No, you have to get on a flight and do all sorts of things. That is so awesome.
Yeah, I was really like, I had never been to Prague. And I remember even when she mentioned it, I was like, Prague, where is that? I was like, but, I was like, it seems new, it seems exciting. And, what do I have to lose? It just seems like a new opportunity. And there was something that just seemed so, exciting about it.
Well, what I love about that is the ability to be so open, that to see the glass half full, where you're saying, because some people are afraid to move, less known, afraid to move out of the city, the state, the country, right? Or to a new place you've never seen. But to be willing to just take that leap of faith, that is so awesome. And then when you get there, the total change of plan, say, I'm not coming back right now.
Yeah, I think that was the scariest part because, I was really content. I was happy with, my life, my schedule and everything that was here, but I always felt like there was something missing, And
Mm.
so when I got there, just knowing that there was the space to explore new creative projects or dive deeper into like retreats. And I thought, you know what? There's something that's calling to me here. And even though I'm content with my life in the US, I really want to try this out because I feel like there's so much more that I could be doing. And so I was really scared, I was like, oh, everyone's going to be like, why are you giving up this job? Why are you like, you've got a career, you don't have a 401k anymore, all those kind of like judgments that come with success and everything here. But yeah, there was just some part of me that was like, there's more to what I'm doing. And I think I have to be here to figure it out.
How do you coach people in that way, or do you coach people in that way to really kind of try to find that inner voice that oftentimes can be overshadowed by the things that we have to do and the other people's voices, right? To really not only find that voice again, listen to that voice again, and then act upon that voice again. How do you really, do you have a way to really kind of help people start to do that?
Definitely. And it really depends on the client that I'm working with. One thing that one thing that I always come back to is I always just start with basic definitions because it's so much easier to move towards something if we know what we're looking and moving towards. It's like, oh, to say like, oh, I want to be happy. It's like, that's great. But what is happiness to you?
That's
Your
good.
version of happiness is going to be different than mine. And nothing's going to be more frustrating than climbing this happiness mountain and getting to the top and realizing, wow, this sucks. I don't like any of these things. And so I really start with kind of just redefining some of these basic concepts from an authentic place. And I love doing somatic work. So really working with people on checking in with the body. Where is happiness in your body? Where is authenticity? What labels or expectations have we taken on from our parents, from our society, from our friends that we are kind of living in, and really getting people to a state of inner awareness where they're like, you know what? This goal isn't my goal, but it's just something that I've been moving towards. So really helping people through somatic exercises, tapping into the body, just basic reflective definitional things, I think is a nice way to start getting people into who am I? What do I want to do with my life? And what really makes me happy?
You know what, Des? I wish the world could do that. Every single person in the world
Mm-hmm.
began to slow down, define things, like you said, happiness, that it's just really this elusive phrase at times, to really know what it means. And then, like you said, to know if it's what I want, if it was this idea that I wanted, or if it was somebody else's want for me, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what kind of world would we be if we could just do that, right?
Oh, I know. And I think that's one reason why I get so like excited and passionate about doing this because I notice it within my clients, whether it's working with the body or, working through exercises or even like limiting beliefs, these emotionalized thoughts where it's like, I have to work for love. I know that maybe in my adult logical mind, I don't believe that, but it's in my nervous system, like really trying to tap away from these and watching my clients really hit this embodiment process where they're putting in the hard work, they're doing the inner development, and then they're able to kind of shed those expectations and be their authentic selves. Not only do I notice it within them, but they notice it within their community, their friend group. If they're not projecting so much of this false narrative, then their friends are like, hey, actually, I experience anxiety too. Can we work on it together? Hey, you've been feeling really happy lately. Oh my goodness, you're learning a new instrument at the age of 50. That's crazy. What's making you do that? And so I noticed just by helping one person and really watching them step into themselves, it's like they turn on a little light and then they light up other members in their community.
And that to me is what changing the world is about, right? I
Exactly.
used to think
Mhm.
when I was young and dumb, I'll say that I want to change the world. And then I realized what's impactful is that we all change our part of the world, right? If
Ooh,
my
who's
part is
that?
supposed to impact two people and
Mhm.
your part is supposed to be 2 million, we still change the world, right? Because my two are mine to impact.
Mhm.
That's what I was supposed to do. And if I'm doing that to the best of my ability and you're doing it, then together we change the world. And that was when I really began to understand that, that's what I say. I got to change my part of the world because I'm only responsible for the part that I'm supposed to impact. Right.
Yes.
And so I love how you said, you help one person turn on their light and then they help the next person. Oh God, that's the idea. But this is what you said that really started shifting things for me. When you're talking about this interconnectedness, you're talking a lot about how your thoughts, you said specifically, your thoughts are with your nervous system and how they're really impacting. You talked about are these different types of motion in your body. I think that this concept for a lot of people, which is why I think everybody should know about it, is probably non-existent for most to even know that this interconnectedness exists. Like we know stress impacts us, but do we really know how stress and where? So
Mhm.
talk to me a little bit more about your love of understanding how this really impacts us on the inside.
it's, I don't even know where, I just want to scream because I get so excited when it comes to this stuff. You know, I love the body. And honestly, like for a long time, like you're saying, you know, me included, I was like, yeah, no, I feel anxiety, or I feel these things, like, yeah, my body is just kind of this vehicle that I use. And really, when I started like getting a little bit more interconnected with these feelings of somatic exercises, with, you know, visualizations, and really learning how, you know, even from the brain, if you look at just the brain from itself, we hit a thought pattern, it become, you know, like our nervous system and the neurons, the way that they solidify with every experience that happens. The more that I believe this, you know, the more valid that belief system comes in my mind. And knowing that it's the same with our body, you know, the more that we work a muscle, the stronger that it gets.
Right.
But we have this fight or flight symptom. So if something scary happens in our life, we're going to store that somewhere in our body, because our body is like, we need to remember that this is dangerous. We need to remember that this is our coping mechanism. So, you know, if I were to ask somebody to remember a really happy, like just super happy, radiant time in their life, I'm sure that, you know, with some breath, groundedness, if they've never done it, they would feel a part of their body kind of wake up, whether it's their
Mm.
cheeks or their heart. And it's the same thing with stress. It's the same thing with anxiety. It's the same thing with trauma. Even looking at these limiting beliefs of I'm not worthy of success. It's like, okay, let's logically break that down as much as we can, but where is this belief system held in your body, and how can we address that without judgment, without shame, and just being like, hey, I feel shame, I tend to carry it in my shoulders, and it's not just the concept of shame, but it's that time I got bullied in school, it's that time that my parents told me I didn't get good grades and it was because of this. So it's really all of these concepts and internalized memories. And one thing that I love doing is, even with some of these bigger emotions like shame, anxiety, perfectionism, I'll do somatic exercises with my clients to imagine that they're bringing it out of their body so they can meet it. And it is
Mm.
just wild seeing the people. It's like my anxiety looks like, you know, a cloud with one eye and it's raining, or my anxiety is just like a big puddle. And so I think really being able to have people identify, I feel anxiety and anxiety is a part of me, but it's not me. So I think just being able to have that experience too. And I think doing bodily exercises is a really good way to remind yourself of that.
I love what you just said with that. I wrote down, you give that feeling a face or an image. Give it a face. Give
Mhm.
it or an image. What is it? What is that? What does it look like? What does it talk about it?
Mhm.
I use the word persona, but I definitely haven't used it in the way that you've said it, right? I'm talking about, like if you are when you go out with your girls, you may switch personas, right? And who is she? You can give her a name, you can do all this,
Mhm.
or you're in a place where you have to be strong, and that's a strong persona, right? But I love the imagery that you use to be able to help people identify their feelings, because it makes me become separate from, as you just said, the
Mhm.
feeling. It's not me, it's in me, I may feel it, but it's not me. When you can do that, that's so powerful.
Yeah, because the
You
brain is going to be sending all that stuff information where it's like, I am panic, I am anxious, and it's like fight or flight, it's going crazy. And then, but if you're able to just kind of, like you're saying, just take that out and be like, hey, anxiety, I can tell that we're having a hard time, like what's going on? And always bringing it back into the body, because anxiety or anger, these emotions serve as something, you know, like if you're feeling anger, a lot of times it's because some boundaries being violated, you're not feeling seen or heard. And so these are also really important messages. So not
absolutely.
dismissing these strong, you know, these strong unwanted feelings, but just being like, oh, it's my crazy little cloud guy.
My one of the life coaches I had the pleasure of interviewing said, our inner voice, she said her inner voice is a bully, and she gave her a name, and I was like, if that is not the truth, my inner bully. She said we had to have a talk. She said, I talk, you saying all this foolery, you and give her a name, and if it's a she or whatever, that inner voice
Mhm.
is always and very negative. My inner voice is often very, very negative, but it's not me. And to begin to have conversations, and I think what I'm hearing from really the both of you guys is being clear about who we are and what's happening inside of us. And I wrote down that it means, and this is, I'm making a statement, but I'm asking a question. Doesn't that mean we have to slow down period? Like we have to slow down to become more mindful and more aware of what's happening, because sometimes we're just going in, these things are happening. And in order to be able to identify, I think what you're saying, these things, I felt like you had to slow down. Am I right in thinking that, or am I off base?
You know, I want to say yes, because we live in such a fast-paced world. If you're not producing, you're going to be left behind. Like you've got to be like doing so many things. And when you're going so fast, you don't have time to really check in with your body and see, hey, is this something that we want to do? You know, it's like those impulse buys where you see something like, I'm just going to get it really quick. You know, if you would have had a moment to think about it or to ask, do I really want this? Is this something that I want? Is this something that my parents want? Is this my narrative that I'm projecting into the world? Or am I just doing this because fast wins the race?
Or satisfy a feeling right now, and then
Yeah.
to not even slow down enough to identify what feeling, at what need am I feeling
Yeah.
by this feeling, right? You know what I'm saying? So, oh, I love that.
Yeah, because I think you can
Des,
definitely oh, sorry. I think you can definitely hit a
no, go ahead.
level of flow, you know, like a level of flow where you're not thinking and you're going fast, and it can be fine and healthy and productive. But I think until we really are able to reconnect to our inner voice and our inner knowing, I think until we really hit that point of full embodiment, we should slow down as a society and really
I
just
love that.
appreciate the moments that we have, and really being able to, again, just digest, is this me?
I love that. I think that one of the themes, I'm trying to find many of the themes that when in all these fantastic women like yourself that I've been interviewing, some of the themes that are going through, and there's a mindfulness goes through everything, slowing down and awareness is going through everything. And I just love it, because if we're all saying the same thing, there has to be something to it, right? There has to be something to it. You have said, Des, a couple of times, somatic exercises. Now, let's explain to the people what that is. What are somatic exercises? Because some people are like, I don't know what that is. People don't want to Google it, so they don't make them Google
Yeah.
it. So just talk to us about what that is and kind of give us some examples.
Yeah. So for me, when I do somatic exercises, it's really just any exercise that's going to involve the body. So a lot of times I will ask my clients to take, to close their eyes and take 3 deep breaths, and then I'll kind of guide them through some visualization connected to the body. So it could be, keeping it happy and keeping it simple. If I would be like, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and then I'll ask them to just kind of see where the energy is in their body. Is it, without trying to change it? Again, we're not here to change, just become aware of where our energy lies. And then, I'll ask them to think of a moment or to think of a concept. So it could be, think of happiness, and so when they connect to that feeling of happiness, I'll ask them to kind of tell me, where is that in their body? Oh, I notice it's in my cheeks. How does it feel? What is this feeling of happiness? As you're connecting to this feeling in your cheeks, is it light? Is it heavy? Is it hot? If you ask happiness, this feeling in your body, a question, how can I bring happiness into my daily life? Does it have a response for you?
Mm.
And so I think when I do somatic exercises, it's really around that. It's really just visualizations to communicate with the body.
I love that question that you just asked, where you said, if I asked happiness this question of, how I can have more, does it answer? That's interesting. Tell me more about that.
So again, just imagining that all of these different concepts that are inside of you, happiness, success, shame, anger, whatever it is, they all have an inner knowing that is authentically yours. It is your energy. It is a result of all the experiences that you've had, and your inner knowing what's best for you. So instead of following templates of happiness or success, why not ask your own inner happiness?
Oh,
Hey,
that's good.
happiness, hey, happiness, what do I want? What is going to best serve me? And it might be a little fumble in the beginning, especially because, like you said, we don't live in a society where we're taught to talk to ourselves or talk to the different concepts that are within us. But I really believe the more that we can connect to these energies within us or concepts within us, we can really start moving towards an authentic life that we really want. So really creating a life that is authentic to us, a life that we love, not a life that we're supposed to love.
what you made me think about, I love that. What you made me think about was I did a talk with my group once, and I said, I know this is an impossible question. We were talking about your purpose. What do you want your purpose to, what is your purpose supposed to be? And when you start saying what you just said, I can see what you're saying is that you have an inner knowing. And sometimes, well, heck, it might be all the time, instead of trying to look for your purpose out there, you go inside and speak to your inner knowing. And without the shame, the guilt, the who go past judgment, or whatever the case may be, you go to your inner knowing. I realized when I finally decided to fully embrace life coaching, like fully, the money, the non-money, the connections, the non-connections, the this, the that, the whatever the case may be, I was at peace, because I knew what my inner self was always saying, because we could do a lot of things to make money, a lot of money, whatever the case may be. But when you get back to that, like you said, that inner knowing, that's where if I had to ask myself happiness, it's in speaking, and then it's in connecting with people and blessing and ministering to people. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? If we're looking at people trying to find their purpose, that's what you're saying. It's in there, right?
Definitely, and I'm sure that if everybody were able to kind of take that pause and really, because it's not like, you tap into your inner knowing overnight and you're like, okay, I woke up and I know my life's purpose. I know what I'm going to do. It's,
right.
It takes work the same way that if you were to move towards your purpose externally, it would also take work. But it's a little uncomfortable. There's a lot of times where maybe your inner knowing is like, hey, as we move towards our purpose, I want to expand creativity. I'd like you to draw for a minute a day or sing, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm a really bad singer. I hate drawing. There's judgment. There's fear around it. It's a lot. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go on LinkedIn and apply for some jobs.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
So looking back, it's sometimes the fear that we have of really allowing ourselves to be fully seen and fully expressed can be really overwhelming. And so, but I do believe that the more that people are able to, like you're saying, look inward without judgment, they'll be able to hear their kind of heart's desire.
I think that you're right on with that. And you really led into the question I wanted to ask next, which is, where do we start? Right? Because it is uncomfortable. That is a really nice way to say it's hard as heck sometimes. you just made it so nice, Des. It's so pretty. It's just uncomfortable. No, sometimes it's hard. It's ugly. It's because we've changed our baseline with all of this stuff that we put on top of our inner knowing. So for wherever a person is, where would you say is a good place to start?
I'm going to come back to just definitions again, because it's not like jumping into shadow work. It's not like, oh my goodness, my whole life has been a lie. It's just, okay, I'm just going to start simple. I'm not going to do anything that's with the body, because, sometimes it's very uncomfortable to people to sit still, especially if they've experienced trauma. There's a lot of anxiety that goes in that. So just define, what is happiness? What is safety? Because safety plays a big key in happiness and success, just in life. So really come up with some definitions. What is safety? What is happiness? What is success? And what is love even? So really being able to pick 3 or 4 keywords to really define. And for people who can't define those words, just do the opposite. What is not safety? Okay, it's none of these things. And then being able to kind of take like a downward up approach. And so it's not this, what is it? And so maybe once what does it feel like in my body?
Okay.
If this is the definition, what does it feel like?
So you go from the definitions of some of the keywords, when you said that, I started thinking about maybe, where you are, what you're looking at out there. Like you said, success is something that I'm going towards. So then you really, really having a good handle on what that is. And oftentimes I think we find it has more to do with these societal definitions of success and income level and what people see or what they drive, as opposed to what success means on the inside. But that's really what you get to if you go down that journey of those definitions, right?
Exactly. And I do believe, like you're saying, it's money, it's income, it's all of these things. They're all external kind of validating factors. But even when you're planning your success, if you're planning anything, a lot of times it's so much easier to connect to the end goal if you're connecting to the desire as opposed to an external outcome.
Right.
Okay, my version of success is this. And, I need to have 10 new clients by the end of the month. It's like, okay, well, now if I don't get 10 new clients, there comes that saboteur that's like, told you couldn't do it. I don't even know why you're trying this. And that negative self-talk comes in and the spiral starts. But if you change that goal from being like, I'm going to have 10 new clients to this is my version of success. And my goal is to connect and inspire to connect with more people, to connect with 3 more people, to have meaningful conversations. If you come back to that desire, there's so much more intrinsic motivation that will happen. I'm way more excited to start my day with the goal being to have a meaningful conversation than the goal to get 10 new clients. It's
Right.
a different kind of pressure that gets put on you as well too.
Well, and then the meaning, like you said, very eloquently, the meaning that we associate with it if it doesn't happen, right? So if I say I wanted to connect with 10 and I connected with 3, do I consider that failure or do I consider it success that I still connected with 3? And if you can't make that adjustment within yourself, then you have to look at the way you are talking about the goal setting for yourself. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, definitely. Because expectations, they're a little dangerous sometimes. Expectations, they're if you don't meet expectations, then what happens? And when expectations aren't met, that's the best time for the saboteur to really use that as evidence against you. And the brain is smart. The brain is always looking for evidence in any possible way. And so if there's a part of you that is feeling fear or resistance or the imposter syndrome or whatever it is that comes up, anytime you put an expectation that isn't met, it's going to be like, great, I'll use this against you for the rest of your life. And you're like, what? It was just.
Well, Des, and you made me think about how, let's say someone's in a relationship, it's just a relationship, friendship, partnership, whatever the case may be. And they need to express something to this other person. And the what they expressed wasn't received in the way that they intended or thought or whatever. That's being connected to an outcome. And I've literally coached people saying, but what happened was you're upset because you anticipated an outcome that you didn't get. And we have to get clear on, it's so hard to not be connected to the response of others, because then we take on this meaning, like you say, and then we process it in a whole different way. Am I saying that right?
I believe so. And again, when you're having these conversations, taking that expectation off, because maybe they say something that's beautiful. Maybe they say something that's actually going to project the 2 of you in a whole different path. But if you have the blinders on and you're like, this is the end goal, if that doesn't happen, everything else kind of gets blurred. And so It's a lot easier when you're having these conversations to be like, what is my intention of saying this, as opposed to what is my expectation?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. What is my intention versus what is my explanation? I got to write that down because that's good. That is really, really good. Tell me about your signature programs. You have Redefining the Self and Tapping into the Self.
Yes. So these are like my 2, I guess, most popular programs that I have. Tapping into Yourself is a program specifically for women. And so it is a 6-month program. And during that time, we do there's about 30 one-on-one kind of coaching calls that we have where we dive into values, authenticity, limiting beliefs, and just kind of the whole societal narrative that, unfortunately women kind of tend to take on around beauty, around love, around partnerships, around self-worth. So all of that kind of stuff. So we do that. There's weekly emails. There's daily exercises and a little booklet where I send additional exercises, because sometimes in this personal growth journey, it's great to be with someone one-on-one, but there might be some things that you want to work on outside of those sessions. Right. And maybe really give it time to digest. And so I think it's really important to offer that space of support and guidance one-on-one with the client, and then to kind of stay with them through that process, because like you were saying, it's uncomfortable. It's really hard. It's really hard, especially for people, for both this and the tapping into the self course. It's redefining yourself. And sometimes there are going to be people in your life who don't like that, especially if you follow like a people pleasing mentality, which, especially again for women, this concept of nurturing, of saying yes, you can't say no, people pleasing. When you
Mhm.
start challenging that, or for both programs, when you start expressing your boundaries, it's gonna be a roller coaster. And so both of these programs are really geared on connecting to the inner self, redefining the self, figuring out like what limiting beliefs are still in your life and that are holding you back from creating the life that you love. But the tapping into yourself is a 6-month program specifically for women.
I love it. I love it. I think we really ought to do, in addition to what you've said, a several trainings on expressing your boundaries. I think, oh, if if we could just tell, I told people the year of no, say no, no.
Yes. And that is one, I did this program quite often in Prague, in person. And so it's something that I'm really excited to bring online this year. But it's just an intensive masterclass on boundaries. And it can't just be boundaries, because boundaries, for people who have a difficult time expressing it, it's for some deeper reason, right? If I say
Mhm.
no, then this person's going to reject me. If I say no, then they're not going to love me. If I say no, then everyone's going to forget about me. Who am I if I don't say yes to my husband? Who am I if I don't say yes to my wife? And so this boundaries is it's something that is just I love. I'm so bad. I love boundaries. And I
No,
love,
but because it's massive, and it is really, like you said, it's so connected to so many other things that the layers of it are just incredible.
yeah, and it comes down to like, sometimes self-worth as well. If I say yes to you, then I'm saying no to me. I'd
Right.
rather say no to me than to them. And so really getting people comfortable and confident enough in themselves and their self-worth, where they're like, you know what? I can't give beyond my capacity anymore. It's not something that I can do. Or on the other side, if you're giving beyond your capacity so much, you're like, I'm feeling resentment towards this person and I don't know what to do. It's like, well, are you giving beyond what you can, and why? And so really being able to break down why we have a difficult time expressing boundaries, what's the fear in expressing boundaries, and are we worthy enough to say no?
And what we are getting by not doing that, right? Because there's something that we are still satisfied within ourselves, the
Mhm.
need to be needed from
Yes.
some people, right?
Mhm. That
So that's why
validation.
boundaries can just be this thing that can go on and on and on. And I think there are trainings that continue to come up all the time. I have so enjoyed talking to you, Des. Tell me,
Yeah.
how can the people get in contact with you if they want to reach out to
So I've got a website. Everybody can contact me at theinterconnectedself.com. And there they've got, I do free webinars every now and again. All of my programs, my 4 and 6 month programs are there, and individual coaching sessions that I offer. I'm also on Facebook at The Interconnected Self. And I just started an Instagram. I'm getting new to like the social media kind of craze and everything. Especially, in Prague, it wasn't so big, but coming back to the US and just having unlimited data and this whole new network, it's something that's very exciting. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Interconnected Self, and the website is theinterconnectedself.com.
Fantastic. I again have definitely enjoyed myself. I got notes all over my paper here. Um, you have the last word, my dear. What would you like to leave the people with? What's your last thought?
I guess my last thought is, no matter what is going on in your life, I hope that everyone is able to take that moment of inner connection, because you matter.
You
And I think
matter.
that's it. You matter, and you're worth it.
I love that. I just want to say again, thank you, thank you, thank you so much
Yeah,
for your
thank
time, you
you.
guys. This has been a fantastic, fantastic time with Miss Des Caminos. And I hope you guys reach out to her because she's absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm Dr. T with Life Coach in a Box. Is another masterclass. We'll chat with you guys soon. Take care.